Welcome back to Chips and Salsa. I'm CRob.
I'm Jerry.
Hey, today, Jerry, we have a real treat. You like reading, right?
Yes.
Well, today we're talking with Annie Leong. She's a security technical program manager here at Intel, and she's responsible for our technical papers. We had a really great conversation with her. We wanted to share with everybody.
Hi, Annie. Thank you for joining us today. Can you start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Intel?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Annie, and I have been a security program manager at Intel for many years. And my focus is to document technical security issues for Intel.
So,
Pretty good.
Yeah, CRob and I, we work with you all the time on security incident response things and our security advisories. And so you're documenting all sorts of things about our mitigations. Can you tell us about some of the categories of documentation that you're creating?
Sure. So for security technical collaterals, there are actually several types in addition just mitigations. So of course, number one, the most important one is mitigation. So whenever there's a report coming in, and we decided that this is a vulnerability, then we're gonna do some research and then find a solution, and then we document it. That's one type. And there's another type that we learned over the years that would be beneficial to the different communities, whether it is the software ecosystem or customers, as we document the hardware behavior of our products, and then we give people controls, CPU controls to do different things. And then the third type that we have, best known methods, some of the practices that we think are good for the developer communities. Those are the main three types. And there's also the last type that we have is that we research industry mitigations and write about it and evaluate it so that, to show people that when we do a mitigation, we put in a lot of effort behind it. Mm-hmm. So those are the major types.
So it sounds, I would imagine that when we have a hardware issue, it's simple to get the Intel experts together and to try to craft that technical paper. But I would imagine, and do you agree that the software, anytime we have to work with software where it's kind of outside of our ability to control, we might participate, but we don't own it. Are those a little more challenging to get done?
Absolutely. So it's very important for people to realize that hardware and software need to work together and collaborate, right? Mm-hmm. And in order for things to work. So software is like the driver, right? Driving the car. And sometimes, we could make the best car, but it really depends on the driver, how the driver would like to drive the car. And we would like to cooperate with the car so that's driven in the right directions and going the right place and be secure. And so that is out of our control.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the specific things that we've addressed. Let's go back to March 2022, where we had the BHI issue, and you worked on some papers related to that. Can you tell us about those and the challenges that you faced there, and what were the outcomes?
Yes. So in March 2020, we worked on a paper called BHI IMBTI, and it's related to the previous issue, BTI. And the challenge we have there is that when we write a paper and the researcher reports something, and we focus on the issues being reported and have a fix for it, and that we find the simplest fix, the easiest for the software community, and then we publish it. And to do this, we have to go through a rigorous process of going through different debates. Now, even though I gave the example of the driver just now, that we have no control, but within Intel, we do have a lot of software experts as well as hardware experts. So we have to debate through the solution to see what's best so that we can put in guidance. But once we put in the guidance, when it touch upon a software and we say whether you turn off a certain thing, that goes into an area where there's more debate because Intel, after all, is only a silicon company. Majority of our work is in silicon, even though we do software. So that's where the challenge we run into is that people don't necessarily agree that just turning on and off one thing would be sufficient. And so, so we took an AR action request. That's what it meant at Intel. Is that we look at some of the disclosure gadgets being found at that time, and do some additional homework. Actually, another 6 months of homework to make sure that, hey, you know what? If you're worried about these things right here, we want to prove to you. So all these disclosure gadgets that we have found are actually benign. So not only do we face that issue, a challenge, but we want to show the world that when we face a controversial solution or getting a lot of feedback, we want to prove further, even after the paper, that we did those homework and do our due diligence to make sure we look at all aspects of a solution.
Well, I could certainly say with my experience, those the technical papers, whether any of the types that you listed, are super useful for working with customers and just kind of to explain the issue. Uh, Thinking back over the recent papers you've written, did you have one experience that was particularly fun or really interesting to work on?
Yes. We do. And one of the paper we write is data operand independent timing. So to make it simple in layman's word, it's actually about instructions that allow you to guarantee that you have constant time in the old days. Now, those words are not often used today, but traditionally we call it constant time. And so we have a mode that allow you to turn on for crypto people when they use it, and they can turn on the mode to be extra safe. And that's the purpose for it. And that is a very fun paper because we have to go through and look at all of our instruction, test it out, and think about the best solution to do that. So that's fun. But when we published the paper, we got lots of feedback, and different communities are looking at it differently. And so we evaluate our solution and think that, oh, okay, so we understand that's what we think is best. But the feedback coming in is telling us that there are different ways of doing things that people prefer. And so what we do is we go back internally and discuss about what is it that we do to show all these customers and our ecosystems there's light at the end of the tunnel. We heard you, and now we have extra controls and fine-grained control that we are thinking, and we tell them about it. Now, this paper has not published yet for version 2, but it's coming out. So that's what we do. And that's especially fun because it involves crypto people, software people, silicon, etc. So we involve lots of people and get lots of feedback.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
So, Annie, where can folks find all of these technical documents?
Oh, yeah. So we have intel.com and we have a security website. And within the website, if you go down, you will find a section called Software Security Guidance. And that's where you can find all the paper. And in this quarter right here, we are revamping it. So as I described to you, the 4 different types of paper, right now, we understand that, if you're not into this area for often, it would be hard to find. So we are laying out it as a story to explain to you how to walk through the different types of documentation and explain it a bit better and more in layman's words, so it's easier to just for anybody to go and find things. And if you wanted to understand more, then there's more technical details, then you can dive into the details. But if you are a system admin, all you want to know is, hey, is it fixed? Is it not fixed? What do I need to do? Then you don't have to read through all those technical jargons, right? They put anybody to sleep. So there are some additional things I want to share with everybody is that security is actually very fun if you move away from the technical jargons. It's actually in the everyday life of what we do, right? And for example, if you are a programmer and you look at a program, Hello World, and you think that, oh, it's just Hello World. But if you look closer at Hello World to make that to Hello World word happen, You go and take out this library and go and do this and that. The compiler doing all these things right here. And anywhere you go that is not in your control or using a third party or anybody else code, well, there are opportunities for security issues. And so therefore, everything you do, you have to think it through. And just like you come home, and when you come home and you open the door, like you secure your house and you lock it. But then when you go to the bedroom right here and you don't lock it, so some of your important documents in there, so you have one layer. So it's like software and hardware security is like, not only do you need to lock your front door, but you also need to lock your door and your safe in order to be secure. So if somebody comes in, they still couldn't get into your safe. So with that concept, or if you're hardware and software, is that if you're hardware, your safe is very safe, but then you open up your front door wide open, anybody could come in. And so it's like that. So it's like software, hardware collaboration is really, to me, is, it's instinct, right? It's the security.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, Annie, we want to thank you for joining us on the show today and for talking about the security guidance technical papers that we create. And we'll put the link down below for folks to go and check those papers out.
Wonderful.
Well, that was a quick and great overview by Annie of the technical guidance papers that we create around our security mitigations. So thank you, Annie, for joining us. And that's a wrap for this edition of Chips and Salsa. We'll see you next time.